2. You are now
Hello.
live. Sorry.
Thank you. This is the Templeton Community Preservation Committee Annual Needs Analysis Meeting. We're here to discuss from 6:30 to 7 p.m. about opportunities for the town to invest in itself through community preservation funding, ideas that people have, guidance that could be given towards directing projects, and just a general discussion of what's going on and what is possible. So it's just the 5 members of the board here. Nobody's online. So 5 of us representing a quorum and the audience here to discuss things that Templeton might want to consider for the future. So as most of us know, the Community Preservation Act was accepted by Templeton in 2007. And it has allowed the town to do a lot of things within the 4 allowed categories of projects that are eligible for these monies. These monies are collected through an assessment to property taxes of 3% of your property tax is a CPA surcharge. There are exemptions available to reduce that. And like the first $100,000 of value of your property wouldn't count towards that, the tax on that. So and then the state provides a match depending upon the surcharge level and what is available in the trust fund. And so since Templeton is at the 3% surcharge rate, we are eligible for additional funding through the state, more so than those communities that have a 1% or a 2% surcharge. And the fact that we're relatively small and not economically robust compared to some of the cities, we've been able to get 100% match for 8 of the last 9 years. In 1 year, it was only like 83%. But so this provides the town with about $400,000 annually that can be used in that year or for future projects in the areas that include the preservation of open space, the preservation of historic buildings and items, for example, historic maps and things like that the town has in its possession. In addition, community housing projects are potentially fundable through this, and recreation projects. So there's a lot of guidelines that are available through communitypreservation.org, which is the website for the Community Preservation Coalition, which is an organization that was founded with the creation of the CPA, and it consists of a steering committee that has representation from different state entities, such as the affordable housing folks and the mass preservation, and there's some open space folks on there too. The trustees of, not the trustees, but another one. Anyway, you can go there and see who's on that. And then there's community members that are there as well, and they are there to advocate for the CPA within the Commonwealth. And as a result of so towns that are in the community can join. Templeton is elected to join every year. We pay an annual fee based upon our receipts. There's a scaled tier approach. So it's like $875 a year. And it provides a wealth of resources. They manage the project list. They have a lot of good information, documentation on there about what is eligible, how to determine whether a project's eligible, and also a database of all the different projects across the Commonwealth, so people can look at those and see what's been funded elsewhere, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So I recommend that to everybody who's interested in learning more about it. They're a great resource. And we are the Community Preservation Committee for Templeton, and our job is to solicit and nurture projects from the community. It can be from residents within the community. It can be boards within the town, commissions. It can be nonprofits. It's wide open to people of Templeton for projects in Templeton that meet the criteria that are allowed in the Mass General Law regarding Community Preservation Act. Okay, so we've done projects with open space. For example, some property, 90 acres down on the Dudley Road, were preserved. The town used a land grant, which is another state grant opportunity that requires a local match, and the townspeople voted to use CPA funds to provide the local match, and the state paid 60% of the cost of the project. So the town paid 40%, but of that 40%, you could realize that half of that was state granted anyway, because we get the matching funds, and the rest of it was monies that we have. The monies don't need to be spent every year. They roll over if they're not spent. So it's not the general budget of the town. It's the it's earmarked towards the specific uses, the categories which I discussed. The open space, historic preservation, and community housing each are required to receive a minimum of 10% per year allocated from the revenue towards those projects. So they have specific accounts for those uses. So that represents 30% of the income of the funds for the town. And then there's a unbudgeted reserve, which can be up to 65% of your income. And that can be used for any of those three categories, plus recreational properties, recreational opportunities. Recreation doesn't have a specific set aside. Open space monies can be used for recreation, but they don't have a specific sub account for them. And then there's a 5% allowance for administrative costs. And so that are things like helping projects move forward. Like if the town is looking at developing a park, perhaps an assessment or a survey would need to be done. We've done that before. And other activities, paying for signs to promote properties that have been funded. Every project needs to have a sign designating that CPA funds and the people of Templeton have paid for this and allowed this. And so we usually try to roll that in the cost, but if we don't have it, we can pay it. We're also going to start, and this is for the very first time, the committee has voted to expend some of that administrative budget for an administrative assistant, and that position is being filled, and that'll be 8 hours a week to help us with all the activities we need to do, which includes reaching out to the public, reaching out to people who have grants, and to do all the documentation that is required of a town body. So example of open space was the property down on Dudley Road. Historic preservation, we've done a lot of things. This building here, East Templeton, what was formerly East Templeton School, was determined by the Historic Commission to be important to the cultural significance and history of the town. And so it was eligible for funding, and that's how the town was able to move into this building, by rehabilitating what was a vacant school. And now it's a town hall. Community housing is another example. We supported the housing authority property over there by the light company. Right after the ice storm, we bought that. The townspeople bought a emergency generator to support the affordable housing of that. The big project we have ongoing is the Baldwinville Elementary School, which is a combined historic preservation and affordable housing, where the townspeople approved $1.174 million towards a $20 million project that is moving forward, which will create 16 apartments within what was the old Baldwinville Elementary School, and an additional 34 apartments in the back, which will be constructed on property that was the old railway easement. And so in that project, the town will receive money from the developer to purchase the property, and then it will become a taxable property going forward. So the calculation was that within 10 years, that initial investment by the town will be paid back. And then recreation, it was in the past, you needed to buy a recreational park with CPA money. You couldn't just fix up an old one, but everybody already had old ones. So they changed the law. And that's a good example of this being a dynamic law, in so much that the legislature in Boston can change it to modify it based upon, perceived needs and what's good for the community. And so now we can rehabilitate existing recreation areas. And a good example of that is Gilman Way. We've spent money down there for a variety of different projects, and we have just recently funded monies to complete the the bathrooms down there for the public bathrooms for closing off that project. So that's kind of the overview I wanted to give. And since we're on recreation, we do have somebody that wants to speak about some of the needs for recreation. And that is, I believe, Candace Graves. And are you ready
Do you want
to?
me to go there?
Either way, Candace is our representative from the Recreation and Parks Committee,
Well, I sit here on the board. I'll just,
and she's going to come sit down at the microphone.
all right. So I try to get somebody from our board to come, but everybody's like, that time of year. And then someone said I should just do it as a resident. So I guess I am the chair of the rec commission and I'm a resident, so. So if we have a need, it's our tennis court at Gilman Waite. It's in pretty bad shape. It's coming to the point that in the next few years, we're probably looking at possibly having to maybe lock it or something so that people don't get hurt inside it. It's all broken up inside it. So it's getting pretty bad inside. The fencing around it is pretty rackety. So, I mean, it's getting to the point that it really needs to be addressed by our town. So it's a need. So we polled the Recreation Commission. They did a poll on Facebook to ask the folks what everybody would like to see it. Do you want to keep it as a tennis court? Do we want it as something else, that space? And it came back that the majority of the people that answered the question want it as a tennis court, and a few of them also want it as a pickleball. So I did a little research, and you can actually, what they call lining it. So when you could do a tennis court, and then you could do like a fake, another line so that people who play pickleball would know where their boundaries are at the same time. You also could lower because I guess the pickleball net is a little bit lower, so you could have that ability. So it could be a combo pickleball tennis court, or it could be just a standard tennis court. But the census was lots of people like tennis. Tennis is wonderful activity for a range of ages. If you were born with something or you had something medical, it's great for rehab. We see a lot of handicapped in their wheelchairs play tennis, and a lot of folks that have had some kind of paralyzed ability. It's one of the sports they can really use to build up their strength. So, and seniors and families. And so the tennis court is a great opportunity for many different people in our community to take part in. For many different reasons. So we feel like it's worth saving in the sense, but it needs a lot of TLC. So it would probably need to be either resurfaced or maybe a whole overhaul. The fencing will need to be done and the resurfaced. So and it could cost anywhere from, my research online looks like anywhere from about $20,000 like resurfacing all the way to a brand new one to $120,000. This is just online information. Bob is actually putting out a thing. He said in a few weeks he should have something from somebody local that would have a better idea of what this particular tennis court would cost ours to do. They're looking, I mean, looking at nets, nets could cost anywhere from $1,000 to a couple of $1,000s for the netting. And then you're looking at fencing, fencing can be expensive these days. So you could go up to maybe $10,000 from, $5,000 to $10,000 on the fencing alone around it. I mean, it could be more. I mean, who knows with cost these days. And like I said, the resurfacing, I mean, just a matter of they have to take everything out and get rid of it. And then that's going to be a cost. So, but the ballpark is, it could be anywhere from, 20,000 to up to, 120,000, depending on, Bob could get a better idea for the town for us to have an idea. But it's definitely a need. I mean, we're going to have to do something like lock it down from the public. And at some point, if it's going to be a liability and people get hurt, we can't have people getting hurt on it. And I'd rather, as a person that lives in the town, I would like to see us to start pursuing to fix it and bring it back to life so that people can enjoy it. And I think it's a need for our community.
Okay, do you have another one you'd like to discuss beyond this? So
well, no,
let's talk about this.
I wasn't prepared for the other one. That's going to take another year.
Well, now is the good time to be talking about these projects. As I indicated, we have approximately, so if you look at the open space, 10%, if we have $400,000 coming in a year, so 10% of that is $40,000. 75% of that, which is the most that you could spend on a project
Right,
within a single category, and some of these projects are multiple, is essentially $300,000.
right,
So these are funds that we accrue. So what we really need to think about is what is best, what is the best project that
Right.
will serve the people the most. And so we don't need to, we certainly don't want to just buy a big padlock and close it down. We want it to
Right.
get used. And I love the idea of this combined court. I mean, we could even entertain, doubling it in size in the future. Let's
Right.
get the one that we have up to snuff is personally what I'm saying, and
Right.
do the complete overhaul. And the thing about a project is you want to do it and get it done. We've learned, if they drag on forever, then you don't get the benefit. You want it to, so we can identify all the costs up front and then realize that we have to go through the bidding process and the procurement process. And there's always overages or things like that, but we have to come up with an estimate and an indication of what that would cost.
Right.
And then we could entertain bringing it forward for a May town meeting vote and things like that. But I don't want to be the only speaker.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only tennis court in town now, right?
Yeah, and then,
Was
there's
one
only,
at Templeton Center, and that's gone.
right, that's the only one we have left. And if you do like a Google or something and you ask where the tennis courts locally are, I think it's Templeton and Gardner, the local, I mean, unless you go to Leominster, which they have all them down there. But there's not, we're one of the last ones around, and it actually references ours. So they're sending people there. And like I said, it's getting bad. And I walked in it a few times and I just can't see it staying open much, in the next couple of years with the weather. It gets cold. It's already breaking up.
Mhm.
So at some point we have to think about that as a town for liabilities. We can't have people getting hurt inside it. Right
you
now, the
mentioned that
kids are-
Bob Sozak was looking at costs.
Yes,
Is
he's
that
been,
official project he's working on?
yeah,
for you now?
Adam has asked him to get us a number to see what it would cost.
All right.
So that we would have a better idea of it. They've just been really busy, down at the DPW and buildings
Yeah.
to get it to this time. I mean, I think we could get it, the number before, was it February or something, in January or something.
Yeah, and so we are bound to we need to have a project voted on by this committee, and then it goes to the select board. And typically it's in February, towards the end of February, where they want to warrant articles, and then the selectmen can
Okay.
vote on it. So we do have that time.
Yeah.
We meet the second Thursday of the month. So we have the January meeting, and then we'll have the February meeting in advance of that. But we can call special meetings to help move things forward. I can work with you back and forth.
Right.
Getting the information through Bob is great. Dennis, did you have something?
This is a single court, right?
Yeah, this would be, I think it's a single court. That's what it looks like to me. It doesn't have the netting stuff. It looks like a single court to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any method as to how you access it? I mean,
Reservations, you mean?
Yeah, like reservation?
No, right now we've always just had it open to the public.
Okay,
The kids right now, they put some basketball nets in it because the net for the tennis court is gone. It's not in there anymore. So, and they put in sometimes they go in, a few of them, and they'll use it as a secondary basketball type of thing. We've had some inquiries where people wanted to do some kind of roller skating or something in it. But generally, people really want it just to be fixed to be a tennis court, because especially with the senior center not far away, and we have a lot of elderly, I mean, with the pickleball or the tennis, it's a great, like I said, it's great for rehab and to keep your strength up. That's a great sport. And I know a lot of families, and with rec, I mean, it's things we could have, like a program in the summer, teaching kids, like we could have somebody that wants to volunteer to teach, the families or whatever, go in there one day. And I mean, these are possibilities. The school, I mean, some of the local schools do have tennis teams still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they have 3 courts at the college, but
They're in bad shape.
they're not in good shape either.
They're
You're
not in
right.
good shape. Yeah, no,
Although they're still using them.
yeah.
Now, this sounds like it's something you'd have to have somebody come in and evaluate what the needs are. I don't know how you would. would get somebody to?
Well, I'm sure that, so Bob is very familiar with the process of getting pricing and there are companies that, work in recreational
Yeah.
areas. And I would even go so far as to say, only a single court is really not super.
Yeah.
If you could get additional court, if there's room to put it in there, sometimes the incremental cost is not double the cost.
I mean, it could have been a double at one point. If you look at the width of it, it's pretty wide. And if you've ever been in a double, in a tennis court, you see it, it could have been like two within one space. It's hard to say because the remnants are gone and I couldn't find any pictures of anybody playing or anything on the internet or anything local just to even see. But I mean, I just said single because that's all I got. I mean, because the way it had the middle pole and you have the two sides, but that to me, I thought maybe could come this way and come that way. It's possible. I'm not really sure.
So I think, I don't play tennis. I think it would be great to know what are the dimensions that it would need for a single court. And maybe Bob could even explore, I mean, I don't know what any prohibitions there are with the other ball fields of space,
Right.
going to a larger thing, because if the rec program, for example, they used to do tennis and things like that, with the kids, you can't just do anything with one.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, next to it, so right behind it is the basketball. And then next to it is quite a bit of space before you actually hit in, because the first softball is up on the corner over there. So it's not even like, there's like a ton of space between the end of the tennis court and before the ball field, starts with the lines to go into the, the outfield or the field hockey. It's quite a bit of distance between that. And then you have that walking field that goes up and around. So, and then there's some on the backside. I mean, you have the parking lot too, that's right behind, it's directly behind it.
If you double it up, you would save
could be
having to
made bigger.
change from pickleball to tennis also,
Yeah,
which would be an advantage.
yeah.
Yeah, so for example, if you had it both capable of doing
Doing
either,
both,
but you
yeah.
set them up, leave one is the one and the other.
Yeah, one's ready to go and one's, so that people, you could do that.
Carrie, did you have something you wanted to say? You were,
No, I think
okay.
it's evaporated.
If you're gonna be talking to Bob, I would ask him to get it priced two ways,
Two
both
ways.
ways, of one court and two
Two
courts.
courts to see what the price is. Okay.
Having played tennis, I know a lot of it has to do with your surface. I mean, some recreational courts are just hot top.
Right,
Then they have rubberized surfaces that you
Yeah.
can get. You can get clay,
yeah,
you can get
Grass.
cement.
cement, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The fake one is the one that has the lines or so the lowest maintenance one would be your acrylic one because it has all the lining inside the design of it. Whereas your concrete, after so many years, you'll have to paint the line again, or you can do tar, you can do asphalt. Again, you have to paint the line so many years, but that acrylic, I think that's what the original is, because if you look at it, you can see all the lines are still there. So it must have been something like that, the original.
Yeah, and something like this where you want to get the most valuable in the capital expense
Yeah.
rather than the future maintenance.
Right.
Because the future maintenance is gonna fall to the rec committee.
Right. So, I mean, when my research, if it's asphalt or if it's the asphalt or concrete, it's the lining. If you do the acrylic, it's basically it's just like the other two, the nets, like clean, storing them for the winter and making sure no leaves are in. I mean, the way it's situated there, they don't have a lot of leaf issues. But those are the two things that you would see. It's just storing in the middle of the winter.
When they first built that court, there was no place to store the net during the winter. There were no buildings.
No buildings, yeah.
Now you have a storage trailer and you have a building.
Yeah,
so
we're actually getting another Connex to go behind that one. So it's like, so we have one for the, the sweeper for the fields. So it has its own entity because we're always tripping over it. It's a little unsafe to go in and get our sports equipment. So we're getting the rec department using our fees because it's for the fee sports. When they do the softball, we're putting another one behind it. We're putting so that it doesn't look so bad down there, like, oh, we have all these Connex. No, we just want the second one just to be behind it, just to store
I
that
play the
stuff.
devil's advocate for a minute.
Yeah.
I love Gilman Wakefield. It's got
Yeah.
a lot of great stuff going for it, but there are 3 other precincts in town. I don't know that it's fair to the other precincts to put all our eggs in one basket.
Right.
Should we be thinking about spreading this stuff around a little bit that we're working on?
Oh, for the other park, yeah, like Hooten Park. The light department seems to be very interested in helping with that project. We're not officially parks yet. They say at the end of January, at some point in January, maybe we'll see that title. But until then, but because there's other entities in that park, right now, I feel that the last thing right now that's needed, and so you have the bathrooms and then we have some monies that they can possibly use for the concession stand to finish that project. So that would be 2 projects finished in that park. And now the only other project I see that's very pressing because of the fact that it's deteriorating and is a safety issue is that tennis court. And that's the only reason why I'm here. Otherwise, if it could wait a few more years, I would be let it go and concentrate, because you have the park that's down over here. I mean, it's just an open space if you've ever been in it. I don't think there's really much to do in it.
Up on School Street?
It's
that
I
one?
think at the little Minutemen outside that road.
Yeah, little league field.
Yeah, and my kids who used to play up there, but that's just a great space to go as a family and just have the kids run around in general or do some kickball and stuff like that. I mean, that thing just needs a few tables and something just to enjoy. But the Hooten Park one needs a lot of TLC, and there's a lot of aspects with
That's
that.
gonna be a big project.
Right, because you also have the Heroes Park they're thinking of putting in I mean, they voted to do something in the front of that with the veterans. So there's a lot, and those swings and stuff need to come down at some point because they're getting dangerous to come out. They have to just, take care of that. But that's a matter of that park is named after somebody important, and they want to have something to say with it too. So that's like a whole other entity on that.
Yeah, and here too, I mean, more, park stuff could be done here in
Yeah.
East Templeton in.
But we do have a park here.
Cool.
Yeah,
Templeton Center doesn't really have any space
No, it's
anymore.
gone.
yeah,
Took care of that, all right.
yeah. But there are lots of, so the thing is, there are lots of grants for playground equipment. There's lots of grants in different park and, basketball courts and stuff like that still out there. So these parks also can get other things from other entities that are off with, because we got that grant writer now that we'll be able to hire. So that might be helpful to the town too as well. Yeah,
Yeah, and when you're looking and seeing about these grants and you have grants, and if the grant has like a local match requirement, that's where the CPA
Right.
monies could use for 10%, 20%, whatever, and then
Right.
get the rest of the money. So
Right.
I think you've done a good job bringing this forward. I would advocate, working towards bringing this as a project, because you've done some research already that there is a need, and we'll take it from there.
right.
Now,
I'll
the
just
way
take
we
that
set this
down.
meeting up, we indicated that we would at least give a half an hour for this and then roll into our regular meeting. And then if we needed to roll into more needs analysis, we would in
Right.
part of the regular meeting. But
Does our other attendee have anything?
Do you have anything?
No, I know, I just would say that, when we did have a tennis court in Templeton Center, it didn't seem to get a lot of use.
Right.
Did?
It
Did
not.
not.
Oh, it did not.
And then the kids took it over for skate park.
Skateboarding.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We also
Yeah,
have that,
location too. You gotta look, this location is closer to a lot of the seniors too. And pickleball is like the hot thing.
Yeah,
It is the hot thing right now.
we also have that space behind, Graves' concrete. that We have to start from scratch down there, but,
yeah, the old Baker Field, 6.4 acres, directly behind Graves' operation
Is that like a park?
cement plant. It was an old dance
it
hall.
was, back in 1910 or so, it was
So
a
that's like, well, so
major
it's
recreation.
really, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's
The-
like, what, 6 acres you said?
Yeah, it's about that.
And that is under Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
I believe. The problem is, there's the access to it is you gotta go past the Gardner treatment plant to get in there, or there is a deeded right of way, which is that if you drive past Graves where they've got that very small little gated fence that says do not block, and where they're tearing that mountain down, that is actually a deeded right of way, but it's not, it's like 1910 style in terms of its width. So it's not wide enough. And then there's the other one that comes into the old Coleman Street extension right near what used to be the last house in town. Where the sewer line goes down there, but none of them are really truly good roads or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in the past, the rec people were like, well, we can't really do anything because we can't monitor it.
That
So
was a
maybe,
big problem.
More of a passive, area where there could be some dog park or something like that, or I don't know what, but that's another good thing to consider.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting built up around down there now. On both sides.
Do
Yeah,
you have any online comments?
I have one that says demolition of 10 Pleasant Street. From Helen earlier.
okay, yeah,
That's all.
that's an ongoing thing that they passed money at the town meeting for.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with CPC.
The question related to CPA on that was, could monies be used from CPA to demolish 10 Pleasant Street? And the answer is yes, but the caveat would be either would need to be permanent open space, meaning you couldn't put a new house there, or it would have to be affordable housing designated. So it wouldn't be, re-energizing it for future development. And at the town meeting, they, and I don't know if that's all done or whatever, they increased the amount of money in the revolving account for demolition.
They also have some other things that I heard that something, I forgot what is a state or somebody's got something to help them with getting rid of some of the properties or something they're working on. I can't remember what is a state or is it it's an agency, it's something.
Yeah, no doubt there's, monies out there to rehabilitate and make safe.
What is this?
10 Pleasant Street, the burned down house across from Dunkin' Donuts
Donuts.
in Baldwinville.
Yeah, they already got.
Oh,
there's
okay,
one
yeah,
that
yeah,
100,000 went and the 50,000 went into to help. I think they're using that to maybe help with that.
Yeah, because that is a premier lot if it were vacant
No.
Yeah.
in terms of residential.
Well, it's gonna, it costs more, costing more to take everything down and get rid of everything than the actual worth of the actual property.
Right, so it'd be tough for a developer to sink that cost for
Yeah.
something that's a long way out, but if the town could make it whole, then they could get a taxable property back on the rolls. I think that's what they're thinking, but yeah, that's certainly not being brought to this board at this time
Yeah.
because of the limitations of future use.
Mhm.
We could put a park there.
Mm,
Thank you for coming. With that, we'll close the needs analysis meeting and always look forward to hearing more from people.
Yeah, surprised nobody came.
As to whether,
I'm sure, no one has a project in town they would love to see.
we just have to continue to advocate for that. And with that, we'll open up a few minutes late with our regular monthly meeting. Which
Oh, 2 minutes.
we're ready to rock and roll right into.
Yep.
Okay, nobody
sir.
needs, all right. So the agenda as posted first mentions the town meeting update. And really at this point, we always leave that on there because there's always a town meeting that we either had or is coming. Now, as we mentioned in our needs analysis meeting, which just ended, now is the time to start developing projects for the annual town meeting. One thing to remember is that the timing is dictated by when the warrant articles need to be approved, but there's also a step required of any public entity, any board, commission, anything the town wishes to do that involves the expenditure of capital monies needs to go to the capital planning committee who meet in November. So we're off sequence on that, but we can request a special meeting. They just recently had their meeting, but we had nothing to bring forward. So that's, something we just need to make sure we address. Does anybody have any town meeting updates they wish to?
What do you mean town, I mean,
That would be no, because we don't. Anything that you would like to say about the town meeting, either past?
oh, no,
future?
that was like forever ago.
Yeah. Okay. CPC Finances, we're on board. We received our state match. And so the state was 1 month late. But for everybody, not just us, but that was $210,000 or something. I don't have that number in front of me. I haven't had a chance to get the financial report, but as you'll hear later on in the meeting, we'll expect to be better appraised by the next meeting.
Mhm.
So next on the item, I'm sorry, I skipped it over minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, a minute, that's why I got
Let's go.
confused what we were at, I was like,
Stop talking for a second.
Do we have any minutes from last month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Okay,
gave them to us.
Did you get one? Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't get one.
all right, sorry, my bad. I couldn't access my printer today, so I had to handwrite it off the thing and anyway, full of excuses. Yeah, the only the cemetery commissioner, I'll
No,
have to get you the spelling of his name. It's Joe Salata,
Salata.
and I think it's CELOTA,
Oh,
Oh,
but
it's probably on the website.
yeah. Anybody Google that real quick?
You got it. What's the spelling? He's the one getting in front of the community.
Okay,
Would it be on the town website?
Yeah, to be on the
Yeah.
cemetery commission.
I'll look for it.
thank
Okay.
you. Okay, and well, does anybody else have any comments or additions?
No, I don't see anything.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Yeah, it is CELATA, Salata.
say that again?
CELATA.
And first name is Joe.
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion made to accept the minutes with the correct spelling of Joe Salata's name, and was there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous? Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. That was for the October 13th, 2022 meeting. And Dennis, when we have our new staff person on board, you can work with her to do the uploading of the minutes
Okay.
going forward. And she will also be taking the minutes in the future,
Okay. Oh.
unless you insist.
Huh?
Unless you want to keep doing it for all
Oh, she
kinds
may
of.
want to first.
She
Probably will do a better job.
Well, I didn't say
You've
better.
done a
but
stellar job, Dennis.
it's been
You did a
wonderful the
great
last
job.
15 years. Probably time to change. Okay, any other minutes issues? No, okay.
So minutes pass.
All right, thank you. So under current projects, so the Grange Hall Grant Award Agreement was signed between the Narragansett Historical Society and the town. That's for that $75,000 continuation of the Grange Hall Rehabilitation Project. The Baldwinville Elementary project has gone through and gotten its comprehensive permit, 40B permit. After that process, I believe it was 147 pages of material, and they are going forward seeking their funding. They're getting funding, seeking some funding support through various state agencies, including both historic tax credits and some other funding. And they are seeking a letter from the CPC indicating our continued support for this project. He sent me an email the other day asking if he needed to come to the meeting, and I said, no, we didn't really have a big time slot anyway. He's getting a letter from the selectmen as well, because I said, well, once our job is done, we obviously support it because we supported the
I
project.
asked him the same question.
Okay, 'cause they asked us for-
Representing the historical commission.
Yeah,
And he said for each step of the program, they have to put in a whole new package. And every time they put in a whole new package, they update their letters of support. And
Okay.
it's kind of something that the grant people are looking for. So they asked the historical commission, they asked us, they asked the selectmen. And when they put their package together, it goes in, they got all new letters of support.
Yeah.
So you could almost use the same.
Same one,
same
change the
one,
date.
Change
just
the date.
Change the
I
date.
did ask them for a template.
Yeah.
They did send one.
Yeah.
I said I would bring it up tonight to make sure there was nobody at issue with that. And then I will just sign it as chairperson unless there's any,
Do we need that as a motion or?
may as well.
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion that we authorize you to update the letter of support from CPC.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded to update the letter of support for MPZ for the Baldwinville Elementary project. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. 2-0. All right. The next items we have listed are either our potential projects and new business.
Oh, I do have a question about,
Okay.
well, it's about the bathrooms.
Yeah, let's,
So-
okay, that's about current projects.
Oh, we do.
Well, let me
I
just-
don't have
yeah,
an
which-
agenda for myself.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of, yeah.
I just
so-
don't want to forget what I was asked to ask you.
Yeah, so the other project that was funded in the at the special town meeting, in addition to the Grange Hall, which we have a formal agreement, was the recreation request for finalizing the Gilman Waite Fields.
Right.
And so that is a process that will go through Bob and through Adam for the procurement of the services and goods
Right.
to finish out the work.
So they're putting out the to bid. They were working on that in the office. But the thing is, once the project happens payment wise, how does that happen? That's the question was, do we have to, like, does this board have to give Adam approval to make sure that happens, or is that you signing off on it? That was the question that was put to me. I
Yes, it comes-
the right way, but I was trying to relay it as best as I can.
Who's asking the question?
I was asked by Adam.
I'm just asking who asked you the question.
Adam asked me he asked me if I
So-
knew the answer, like how we were doing it. And I said, I don't know that process, so I don't know.
When a project is approved, the accountant creates an account number.
Right,
Unique account number that is now, and then she puts the amount of dollars in towards that account. And then a vendor warrant, when the receipts, bills come in, typically, and this is why Adam's asking, because like at the, when we did the project down there by the Riverside, we authorized him to move forward to get the approvals done
Okay.
to finish it.
why, yeah,
And then, but that was just specific to that project because he had to do he was also doing additional town funding to close that thing up.
right,
And once again, we could, it makes it easier if we work with him. But ultimately, we have to approve everything
right,
through a vendor warrant. Now, the way we've been doing it of late for these vendor warrants is we have been doing, this is going to segue into another thing that we have to discuss, which is about the administrative person.
right.
So, can we just move
Yeah,
on to that?
That's
then?
fine, that's fine. I
Be-
just, like I said, I didn't want to forget,
Yeah, no,
As you forget things.
no, that's good and appropriate. So I had it under old business that the CPC administrative assistant position that we had approved monies for has been filled. As we discussed at a past meeting, we had a part-time job position posted. We had some good candidates that we interviewed. But it became clear that these duties were in alignment with the best candidate who was working already part-time for the town. And it falls within the same department. And so the discussion was to merge it into a full-time position, which means that this person will continue to work for the town, but she'll have more hours now.
Okay,
And so that was approved for Jessica Case. And so she's the woman that works with the planning board, she works with conservation, and now she will work 8 hours a week for CPC.
Because it's gonna be 8 instead of 10 then, right?
Yeah,
Okay. 'Cause
yeah,
we
and
initially had talked about 10.
we had talked about 10, but to fit it within the number of hours that she has available and the costs associated and the monies that we had approved, it would be an 8-hour position, and I think, certainly we can revisit that after this fiscal year.
I think we worded it as a maximum of 10, so I mean,
Yeah.
8 fits in there.
Essentially, the important thing is the amount of money that we approved. We can't exceed that
Mhm.
without asking ourselves for more. It was $9,360. Of course, by now, the year's half over anyway. so-
Mm.
Yeah.
But, and we'll have to reauthorize and reappropriate this for the next year anyway. So anyway, she's on board. And so her duties will include coming to these meetings, taking the minutes, uploading the minutes, handling correspondence. We will probably have a CPC web email account that will get forwarded to her town account. So she doesn't have to have an additional email account login, but it would be, if somebody has a CPC specific thing, it can go to her and then she can send it to me and I can bring it to everybody or, anyway, the communications channel. in addition, we're gonna update our documentation requirements to get a fillable form so that we're now creating forms that people can actually create the application online and submit it to us, as opposed to what originally we asked them to do was to, type it out and make a mimeograph of it, And so updating all of our processes, procedures in handling these vendor warrants and working with the projects themselves, the project managers, the project entities for updates that she can then share with us and we in our meetings. So there'll be plenty of work to do, certainly up front as we figure out how it all works best. Very dynamic person with a strong skill set and a good work ethic from all that I've heard. So very excited about this. One of the issues, so she works for the Developmental Services Department, if that's what it's called, in the town, where Lori Rita is the supervisor, and that is all the things like the planning board, conservation, and community preservation all fall under one umbrella. So there's only one boss, which is great. So we provide the guidance related to her activities for CPC. In the past, the way a vendor warrant was filled out is that I would get on an Excel spreadsheet and type in all the stuff from the warrant invoices that we had received and send that and sign it. You guys had granted the authority for signature on payment of bills and then a report back, but then it goes to the accountant for payment. But during COVID, the town had adopted a lot more of these electronic signature forms. And so there's an account for that Holly has, so the stuff that she can do. So I've asked her and she's helped us out by using her electronic signature thing. So then, we can get it done easier. Well, the discussion was to create a new account, electronic signature license, if you will, for this Adobe Pro software that would be specific to this committee. And that would cost us $240 a year. So that is allowing us to do electronic communications, electronic signatures, and, simplify the process.
We got orientation.
So is that for the whole Adobe Pro software, or is that just for the electronic signature portion of Adobe?
Well, she indicated it was Adobe Pro.
Adobe Pro, so that's the Adobe Pro.
And that will allow her and you to do it, for you to do it.
And I think, but I'm not
For
sure that with
herself.
these fillable forms, it's part of that as well.
Yeah,
Right.
So the ability to create, the documentation in the application process. So
Mm.
now that this person, so it can just be typed in and then emailed to everybody, distributed a lot more easy.
and then maybe our application for project could go into that. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about the Pro version, is that it's editable.
So do we have to make a motion on that to accept that?
We certainly need to discuss it, and so this would be an expenditure of from our administrative account.
So it'd be 240.
$39.88, but
Well, I make a motion that we go ahead and pursue purchasing the license to that software.
Let's second that.
I'm 39 a month.
it's $240 a year,
The year.
$20,
flat,
okay.
so it's $20 a month essentially.
Oh. $340 a month, year.
$240 for 1 year.
We're only getting that person for 8 hours. That's like going down the same account.
Yes.
Do we use it that much?
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
It's a great software. I used to use it in the government, and so you can, after a year, if we're not using it and we don't think it's appropriate, it could be canceled. We just don't renew it. But I think, especially this first year, we need to update that application.
Yeah.
It's silly looking, and then there's lots of other things that I think, correspondence and other things that we do that I think would be benefited. And if we don't use it, well, then 1 year we spend the money and the next year we don't.
That's true.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded to expend $240 or the cost of the Pro, Adobe Pro package. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, unanimous?
Okay,
Okay, thank you. And because I'm hoping that I didn't do the individual polling. Because we're all here, nobody's online on the
I
vote.
think it's only when you're online, you have to do it.
That's what I thought.
That's what I think.
Anyway, we're all here and we all voted for it, so let's keep
now
some of it.
that's, what was it called? Adobe what?
Adobe
Pro.
So did we answer the question about,
I was gonna sign.
Okay,
the
so
back
going forward, we'll still need to have that, we'll get this and we'll have it electronically signatured and then we can, so the question becomes. The town is the project manager, but we're
Mhm.
still the approver,
yeah,
so,
well, I have a question.
yeah,
So I would think, and I might be wrong, that the expenditure of funds that have been approved would be the same for each and every project. Why is it done one way one time and a different way the next time?
Hmm.
Is it always done the same way or are there
yes,
differences?
it's always done the same way that we have a project manager who's responsible and then we have to sign up off on the.
So why would
invoice.
the town representative be asking, how does this get expended?
But I think it was because of the other park
I think
situation
it's
was
because we
different.
did have that example where he was more engaged in the process, but ultimately it was still the same thing. We were still the final authority, but he
Okay.
was actually
I think
involved
it's
with
just
the
a check
project.
to make sure that he's got, making sure it's like we didn't do something different or. what he
It
was-
just surprises me. I mean, we've done more than one project. We've done numerous projects over the years. And if it's always done the same way, why is there a question about how it's gonna be done? I mean, it would seem to me it's kind of rote by now.
Probably, I think in the case of this, it's because the warrant article would indicate for the recreation committee. Or whether it's the expending authority, that's like identifying who is the project
Yep.
manager.
I don't know.
And so whether that's. So what I think Adam is asking is if he's involved with the process. Is that allowed?
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's third
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, like I said, I was just trying my best. It's not my
Yeah.
forte.
I've reached out to the accountant about the new account number. They're not in place. I haven't heard back yet whether they've been created. They were on the last report that I got just the other day.
Mhm.
And so I think what I'm hearing is we're just gonna keep doing it the same way. The reason I brought up that electronic signature thing is that
Yeah.
it'll be just a more refined process.
I mean, what you had said about what the accountant does, creating a separate account for the handling of those funds. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I just didn't know why.
it could be
this
just
would
because the other
different than-
project, you just could be making sure that we're hiring that new person, making sure nothing changed, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
so basically it is, the vendor warrant is a CPC vendor warrant request. And therefore the signatory shall be, if it's continued, yeah, and we voted it again to,
Yep.
we can do it again now, is to give me the authority to sign the vendor warrants.
We already did that this year.
Yeah, we did in. the new fiscal
It's always
year.
good to get clarification on anything
Yeah.
anyway. You never know, things can change.
Yeah, so those were the only things that I had, and I know it's kind of convoluted, but are you good on that? So I'll talk to Adam.
Yeah, I just want, like I said, I don't really understand the question either. Like, I thought like we have a process, but it could have been that park thing. It could be just make sure, because we have that new person being hired. Like if we're gonna change something up because we've gotten someone new.
Well, I'm just glad that he's ready to move forward. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, and it's finally getting somebody to help you out. Yeah, it's
well,
great.
I mean, and I'm glad that the Gilman Way project's gonna happen. I'm hoping it's gonna happen in the winter.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
But
see, Adam
now
has
they're
to be
down two
involved
people.
because he is the chief procurement officer of the town.
Yeah.
So if there's any bidding that needs to go on to
Yeah.
go.
Well, that's what they were working on the other day. They were running around putting a bid to put it out to bid.
So he's involved regardless, so I don't really
I
understand,
think, Holly was the one that, guess that's her, I guess she was the one
where
that,
she is now, who knows?
Yeah. she was Holly, I think she was like the one putting all the thing together. Cause I think that's part of her administration job or something.
I don't want to be labor. I think we're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I gotta say Holly does a great job for the town. We're lucky to have her, keeping things organized. Very good at that. Okay, anything else to discuss?
I had a question.
Yep,
We talk a lot about three of the areas where we can use money, but Housing, we don't talk about that very much. Is that because housing is such a large project, expensive project? The only reason I ask is the price of housing for newer families, for young families, the price of rentals for young families is skyrocketing almost to the point where they can't afford it at all. And I don't know if anybody has approached the town about building affordable housing. Now, I know the new project at the Baldwinville School has affordable housing in it, and that's great. But I don't think it's sufficient for the needs. And I didn't know if there were any other discussions in the town about affordable housing. Have you heard of any?
Well, there is a more elderly housing going in across from the garage.
Akins.
Akins,
Painted the garage. I don't know.
yeah.
So here's where a lot of that has gone on. I mean, we actually have money that we approved to try to find a way to meet because Daymil has some affordable units.
Mhm.
And they continually don't get sold as affordable because they get converted to market rate. Because nobody takes the first offer or something like that, where they have to be offered, to buy out the voucher or something exactly. I'm not.
Whatever happened?
So the monies are sitting there, but that we approved a small amount of money, I believe, to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have several projects like this, and another one is gonna be just like the Baldwinville Fire Station. Okay, we got $9,000 to do a study. When are we gonna get that study going? I know that the issue with that was, okay, we need to get to fall town meeting. Hopefully they can hire somebody to do that
Yeah.
project. For the affordable housing one, we've also discussed and investigated somewhat the affordable housing trust option. And that's what some communities do, where they allocate their affordable housing funds towards the trust. And then the trust now is an organization that is independent from the CPC. But it is funded through CPA monies to do CPA projects related to affordable housing. And they can do programs like first time home buyer programs. And these financial supports, but also develop or support the development of new properties that have an affordable caveat. But the previous administrator didn't really want to go down that road because that takes more infrastructure. Who's going to lead that thing? Who's going to run it? Who's going to step up to be part of that
Am I
trust?
mistaken? Doesn't the town have a housing authority? Templeton
Yes.
Housing Authority?
And unfortunately, we have not been able to we had, for the longest time, we had Joyce Grukin as the representative on this committee, because there is a seat for them. And then Ida Bean did it, and we haven't been able to get anybody to fill that seat since she stepped down.
That's what we really need, the person to fill the seat to tell us the answers to some of these questions.
And they had even asked, well, could the agent, they have the person who runs the housing authority.
Is
but
that still Paul Texera or has he moved on?
I don't
He
know.
came to our committee.
Yeah,
once.
but the way the language is, it has to be somebody from the authority itself and
Gotcha.
not their
Agent.
Agent.
Yeah.
which, can be problematic when you're, just trying to keep up with your duties as
Yeah,
a
sure.
volunteer for one board. Now you're stuck on another one like everybody else is.
Yeah.
So it's in limbo, but we.
Now, what was their charter? Are they for veterans housing or elderly housing or all housing? Or I know that I believe they control what used to be the old Baldwinville Elementary School. Is that correct? Think
Yeah,
they-
the superintendent's office
Right,
there, whatever
the
they
Tucker
call it,
building.
Tucker Building,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think they run that, but I don't know if that.
And then Phoenix Court and those other
Oh, Phoenix,
properties
yeah,
up there. And
okay.
so they are through the state charter. Every town has access to either its own housing or regional housing authority. And so state monies are funneled
Funneled
through
through them.
them. And that is their charter to do community-based housing for
Mhm.
those that need it. So maybe we should reach out to them or go to one of their meetings. Likewise, developers that want to come forward probably are not aware that they could perhaps leverage some CPA money to a project specifically for community or affordable housing.
Yeah.
Like the developer at the Aiken thing, or I shouldn't say that, whatever it's called across the street. Do you know the name of that project?
No,
I don't.
they're already like pre-selling, I think, some of the houses.
And I believe that is gonna be like modular housing.
It's gonna be like Roses down in South Gardner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And, but the developer owns the land and the lot, and then the house is the owner.
Yeah, you own your house and you lease the ground underneath it.
Yeah, it is
there's a fee that they have to pay. for
like a maintenance fee.
it.
Yeah, I mean, there is a huge need for of course, real estate's gone crazy and
Yeah.
everybody that's a developer
know, I
wants to
mean,
build like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bazillion dollar
they want
house.
all market value houses.
Well, I could reach out to the housing authority and to see if we could meet with them or. I mean, an affordable housing trust that we've gotten documentation, we've talked to some people. We gentleman from Phillipston came and talked to us one time. He'd been involved with that elsewhere. But it's.
I mean, we could even approach it like, how can we help you?
Yeah.
Please talk to us and what can we do to help? Because we know the need is there,
Mm,
and it's one area that we really don't get involved with too much. And let them know that we would like to get more involved in that area but how do we help you? You gotta let
Yeah.
us know.
that came up at the town meeting as well, didn't it? Somebody made a comment about affordable housing, I thought. that
Yeah,
came
they
up.
did, but they had, they were trying to, they were like the curtains and they thought it was coming from there and they were trying to explain to them that there's different pockets of the
Right, right.
CPC money.
Yeah,
And that we had, like, they were acting like we never use, like, they're like, but the Baldwinville project, they're like, the Baldwinville project.
yeah.
We have done things.
Yeah, and
You
once
don't-
that
you
gets
can't do
going,
more
that'll
unless
be
it
apartment
comes.
buildings. And now
Yeah.
we've got this project is a 55 and older community. Yeah,
But until somebody comes
Right.
forward or something happens.
So would you contact them and ask them if they could send a representative into to our next
Yeah.
regularly scheduled
yeah, because
meeting?
I think he would be happy to come to our meeting and at least update us. Our next meeting, if it is again, the second Thursday would be the 12th of January. We would do it at 6:30 still. Is 6:30 okay? That my time is better at 6:30.
Is for me too, so January 12th, Thursday the 12th.
Yeah. Okay, any other business to discuss?
I think so.
Okay, can we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.